All right, hello everybody. My name is Ron Mayo and I'm going to be teaching this class. I apologize, I thought people were going to be here in person, but it's just through Zoom, so I guess I'm talking to a camera. But the name of the class is Increasing Sales by Turning Clients into Investors and Referral Pros. And what does that mean, to turn clients into investors and to referral pros? How many of us are actually talking to our clients about investing? I know when I am a realtor, I've had my license since '99, and I didn't talk to my clients a lot about investing in real estate. And so I finally came up with this class because I figured it would be helpful to people to kind of get them in that mindset of thinking of more than just the deal that you're working on right now, and looking at your clients as future clients and figuring out ways to help them use your services more. And so the secret that I found with this is that that I need to have a strategy. I need to have certain components to be able to get my clients to be repeat clients. And what's one of the biggest things that we face as realtors when we're dealing with buyers? It seems like most of the buyers that we talk to, they want to buy a home, but they've got a lot of debt. They've got their debt to income ratios are way too high. Their credit scores are off. They're really struggling and have a hard time really getting to where they can purchase a home. And especially in the market right now, it's even more difficult. And so how many of you have had clients that you started working with, and I do want raise of hands, I do want some participation here. How many of you have had clients that have been in that situation where you wanted to help them buy a home, but they weren't able to because of their credit or their debt to income ratios? Let's see here. So I know that is a common problem, that a lot of us face as realtors. Is we've got clients that just don't understand the process, especially first-time home buyers. They haven't been educated on those things. They don't know what's expected of them. They don't know where to start. Most of them start talking, well, they actually start by looking and finding the home they want, which is the worst possible place to start. And then they find a realtor and talk to them and try and get the ball rolling, when the first thing they should be doing is understanding what they need to do to qualify for a home. And I want to change that for people. I want people to get to that point where they're preparing to buy a home instead of just jumping in the pool and hoping that they can get something. And so the second part of this is smart banking, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. It's something that a lot of people don't know about. It's something that they've not been educated on as just, I guess, in life in general. As we're going through, we go through school, we start in kindergarten, we work our way up, and we go through all of this training that we get. And most of that training isn't really applicable to what we're going to be doing in life. And there's not much education on finances. There's not much education on how to handle money, how to do these things that are so important in life. And most people get kind of trapped in this rut of debt and being stuck where they're at. And they don't get that education that they need. And most of the time the parents are so busy, they don't have time to teach their kids about those things either. And everything is just kind of a snowball. We start out with some bad habits, and then we learn more bad habits as we go along the way. And we don't know what we don't know. And I want to educate people about finances so that they don't get in that rut. They don't get too much debt. They don't get too many things that are piled on their shoulders, so that when they do try to buy a home, if they've got that knowledge, they can actually make that purchase. And the last thing on here is mortgage protection. And that's something that as realtors, we don't really talk about with our clients. I mean, we help them with buying the home, but we don't really talk to them much about what's going to happen after they purchase that home. So and I'm going to have to move my picture here so I can see what I've got up there. So there's 3 questions that we need to ask ourselves as realtors. And these questions, a lot of times we've got bad answers to these questions. And so the first one is, are you constantly tired of trying to find new clients? I know as a realtor, I did a lot of door knocking. I went door to door and talked to people at their homes to try and get clients. And that's rough. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time to do that. Another source is just your friends and family, making connections with loan officers, other people, and building those relationships with people, trying to get new clients. But it's hard to get the new clients. And if you talk to realtors that have been in the industry for a long time, most of them have built up a clientele that they don't have to be out there prospecting anymore. And that's kind of where you want to end up as a realtor. You want to end up having that base of clients, so you don't have to constantly be out there pounding the pavement to try and get new clients. And this is one that's huge. And anybody that's been in the business for a while has probably run into this, where you've helped somebody in the past and maybe you didn't follow up as much as you should have. And you end up driving by a past client's home and seeing somebody else's sign in their yard. They're selling their home, but they're not selling it with you. And that's hard. It really takes a toll on us and is difficult to take. And so I want to kind of teach you guys ways that you can try to avoid that and have your clients really trust you, really look at you as more than just their realtor, but look at you as a friend who is looking out for their best interests. And then the last one is, are you asking your clients to invest in real estate? And like I said, I was guilty of that. I didn't ask my clients to invest in real estate. I was afraid to make that assumption that they were willing to do something like that. And I didn't want to mess up the deal that I was working on with them by talking about them doing more business with me. And I think there are a lot of realtors that kind of get in that rut and think that it's too forward, or you're pushing too hard if you're asking them to invest in real estate. And there's a time and place for that. A lot of people don't understand how you have to build up to that and get them to a point where they can see the value in it. And so as we go through this class, there are a couple of rules on it. We have to have 90% of the time has to be on the class. And so we don't want people taking long breaks off of the Zoom. It's going to be monitored, and we want people to be there for 90% of the time of the class. And then also I have 2 words that I'm going to be putting up on the screen that I'm going to need you guys to write those down exactly the way that they are on the slides that I'm doing. And you'll need those to be able to get the credit for the class. And I am trying to see if, can somebody unmute, and I want to see if I can hear.
Hello.
Okay. All right, good. I can hear. So
Can I say something really quick?
yeah.
If everyone would make sure that your video is on, like Ron just said, because I'm moderating the class, and to get full credit, you have to I have to be able to see that it's you and you're paying attention. And those are the rules and regulations, not by Ron or us. It's by the actual.
Yeah, the division.
Yeah, the division. Thank you. And then the other thing is I am going to put in the chat right now the Google form that he wants you guys to fill out, that has all your like your ID number and all your information, so that you can get these class hours banked. Okay, so that Google form is in the chat, or it will be in just a minute, so you guys can put those keywords down and all that. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. And so, I mean, as we go through this class, I'm going to have it a little bit interactive. So I am going to be asking for some participation. I want people to be engaged in it and involved in what we're talking about. I know that I learn better when I'm engaged and I'm involved with what's going on. And so I want that to be part of this presentation, is that you guys are involved in that and you can learn more from it. And I want to learn what you guys are going through, what you're noticing in the industry. So let me move my picture down again. All right, so as realtors, what we do is, I mean, we help people get into more debt than they've ever been in before. That's part of the territory for what we do. And how many times do we do something to try and get them out of debt after we've helped them get in debt with the home that they're purchasing? For a long time, I didn't do that. I mean, I was trying to help them get their debt to income ratio down so they could qualify for the home, but I didn't really try to help them after the fact, try to keep those debts down and help them get rid of and eliminate some of those debts. And I found over the years that when I do that, when I try to help them beyond the sale, if it's more than just doing that one deal, if I'm trying to help them in other areas of their life that can help them, they become a more, I don't know how you put it, but a more dedicated client. They're more dedicated to me because I've shown that I care about them and I've done things to help them. And so any ideas of how we can help our clients get out of debt? And if I don't get any answers, I'll pick on somebody. Drew, what do you think? How can we help our clients get out of debt?
Well, maybe this is a little cynical, but we can help them make more money. It's going to be hard to help them get out of debt if they don't have the right education. So I think maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but we can help them make more money by helping them with investment properties.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's part of this presentation that I'm going to get into later. And a lot of times when we talk about debt, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Drew, because a lot of times when we think of getting out of debt, we think about cutting expenses. We think about only cutting things out. And we kind of get into that scarcity mindset, and we don't really help people just by cutting out expenses. We have to show them other ways that they can increase the income, because if you can increase that income, it opens up other opportunities for them. So I really appreciate that. And so most clients don't realize that investing in real estate is one of the best ways to increase their net worth. And the other part of that, flip side of that, is that most people don't realize that it can also be a downside, because if that home is not protected and something happens, that can be a big liability to them. And when I first bought my first home, I had no idea about that. I didn't even consider that part of things. And I wasn't worried. I mean, I was young, I was invincible. I thought nothing can ever happen to me. And so I wasn't worried about what was happening in my life. I was just worrying about, okay, I've got to bring in money, I've got to pay the bills, got to make the house payment, I've got to take care of all these other things. And then if I'm lucky, there's enough money left over that I can go have some fun every once in a while, if I have time. Because I mean, when I first started working, I was working long hours, trying to get overtime to earn extra money. And I think a lot of times we kind of get stuck in that, and we don't think beyond the present. We don't think, where am I going to be 5, 10, 15, 30 years down the road? We don't even think about that. We're so caught up in the daily grind that we don't think of other things that could happen in our lives. And I want to tell you a little story about me as I started working. I went through a lot of different jobs, just trying to find something that I enjoyed doing. And it was hard. I ended up getting a job out at Geneva Steel when they were still in business. And I worked there for about 6 years, and then I hurt my back and had to have a back surgery while I was out there. And that was rough, because I went from working long hours, making decent money, to being on workers' compensation that paid me about a third of what I was making before. And it started this snowball of bills piling up because I just couldn't pay them. And it was hard. I mean, it was hard mentally. Well, it was hard physically, because I was in pain. I couldn't do what I used to do. And but then mentally and emotionally, I mean, it took a toll on me. And that snowball caught up with me, because Geneva Steel ended up shutting down shortly after I had my back surgery. And I went through a really rough time. I ended up losing my home. And I had built that home myself. I'd spent over 1,000 hours of physical labor building that home. I had put 20,000 down, put another 15,000 into it while I was building. And I was the general contractor on it. And I ended up losing that. And that was something that was hard. Emotionally, I mean, I struggled with that. I was like, how do I move on from this? When Geneva shut down, I had a 10-pound lifting restriction and I couldn't get a job. All I had done was I had done physical labor, and that's what I was used to. I mean, I had my real estate license, but I haven't really started doing anything with it. And I struggled. I ended up losing the home and having the IRS say that I made $135,000 of income that year because the mortgage company had forgiven the loan. And I was like, how did I win on this? I mean, what did I gain from this? I put my heart and soul into building this house. I put every dollar that I had into doing this. And there's so many things that can happen to us that we don't even understand the bad things that can happen that can throw us off our game. And I don't know how many of us have ever talked to our clients about issues like that have talked to them about things that can come up that you're not even expecting, things that are just completely out of your control. And most people don't have any type of protection for situations like that. Other things that can happen can really throw everything off for people. And for me personally, if I wouldn't have hurt my back out at Geneva, when they shut down, I probably could have gone out and got another job and I would have been able to keep the house. It would have been a little rough. I would have had to probably work something out with the mortgage company. But because I had that injury that kind of restricted what I could do, it made it so I ended up losing my home. And it changed everything for me. And I want people to understand that there are things out there that can happen that can really turn our world upside down in just a blink of an eye. And we need to be prepared for those things. We need to think of those things ahead of time and prepare for those. And so that brings up life insurance. Life insurance is something that a lot of times we don't really talk to our clients about this issue. And I know that it's something that people struggle talking about. They don't want to talk about death. They don't want to talk about what could happen. And there are so many situations where if somebody had a life insurance policy in place, it could really protect them in case of an injury that I talked about. There are policies like riders that you can put on some of these life insurance policies that can cover in case of an injury where you lose some of your money. It can cover some of those expenses that you have. And just educating people about the options out there and what is available to them can make all the difference for that one person that has something happen that they're not expecting. And I've got different types of life insurance that are listed here. And they have different pros and cons. There's different situations where different policies are better than other policies. And If we had a crystal ball and we knew what was going to happen in our life, then it would be easy because we could just not have the insurance. And then just before we know something's going to happen, we would buy a term policy because it's the cheapest. And then it would cover the death of the person. But we never know when things are going to happen. We never know what's going to happen to us. I mean, you can be fine just driving down the freeway and there's an accident in front of you that you can't avoid, and you could be gone like that. And so we never know what's going to happen or when. And so we have to talk about these things with people and educate them on the importance of it. Whole life is a policy that will cover you for your whole life. And it accumulates cash value and is something that you can tap into if you need to. If there is an emergency, you can tap into that and be able to take a loan from that policy to pay some of the things that you need. Universal Life has two different parts to it. It has an insurance, a cost of insurance part, and then the savings part. But as you get older, the cost of insurance goes up, so there's not as much savings that you get as you age. And then just recently, a couple of years ago, I found out about a hybrid policy that is a combination of a whole life policy with a term rider. And so you kind of get the benefits of the low cost of the term with the longevity of the whole life policy, that it's going to, you know, it's there and going to cover you for the rest of your life. And so there are different options out there for people on how they can cover themselves and their family. And before this slide, the one just before, it talked about the importance of protecting the home. And it talked about how we need to educate our clients about that. And we really need to understand some of these issues so that we can talk to our clients about it. And let's see, is Mallory on?
Yes.
Okay, so Mallory, have you ever heard of these types of insurance before?
So fun fact, I'm a new assistant for Don Stevens, so I'm just here to like learn from the ground up. So I probably won't have an answer to any of your questions.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Let's see, Melanie.
Yes. I actually don't know too much about it. I know I've heard about term and whole life, but the kind of universal and hybrid, I'm not actually that familiar with. So I'm excited to hear more.
Okay. Yeah, and most people, they know about term and whole life because that's the main things that are out there. And people have heard of that before, and they're not 100% educated on it, but they have a little bit of an idea of what that is. And the other two are products that they haven't been around for a real long time. I mean, the hybrid one has been something that until recently, it was mainly the really wealthy people that had access to that type of a product. And now it's becoming more available to the average family. And same thing with Universal Life. I mean, I actually got my life insurance license. The first time I got it was back in 1993. That kind of dates me a little bit. But I got my life insurance license. I was actually trying to be an insurance agent selling car insurance, but they offered life insurance along with it. So I got my property and casualty insurance so I could sell homeowners insurance and car insurance, and then got my life and health license so I could offer the other products that they offered. And when I first started, they didn't have access to the universal life or this hybrid policy that I'm talking about. And so I didn't learn about that until I went back and started studying to get my life insurance license again back in 2014. And as I was going through the study material, they were talking about these policies, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I mean, I've never heard of this before. And it actually opened up a whole new world for people for planning for the future. It gave them other options other than just a 401k or investing in the stock market. There were other options that were tied with life insurance that could allow them to build cash value in those policies tax-free. And that's something that has been very beneficial for a lot of people, because they're worried about taxes and they're worried about the taxes going up. And with a 401k, you're putting money in there, and then what's going to happen? You get taxed on it when you pull it out. And a lot of people think that, well, when I'm older and I'm ready to retire, I'm not going to have as many taxes that I need to pay. But a lot of people, when they retire, they don't have the kids that they can have as a deduction. They don't have a lot of them have their homes paid off. And so they don't have that write-off. And so they end up being in a higher tax bracket when they retire, and they're paying so much more money to the IRS because they didn't plan ahead. They didn't think of the options and what could happen in the future. And so it's good to learn about some of these things. And I'm not going to go heavy into it because I'm not going to have time to do that. But I did want to just kind of touch on some of the benefits of that. And so I want you guys to take this word down, and it needs to be spelled that way with the capital letters and everything. This is just so we're sure that you're paying attention, you're involved with it, and it's part of the requirement for getting credit for this class. So is everybody good? All right. Okay, we're going to move on then. So as I was preparing to do this class, I did a little bit of research, and I came across an article in Forbes magazine that I thought was really interesting. It really made me kind of scratch my head a little bit because of what it said. And so Stephen Chan wrote an article about retirement, and the title of it was, "This Simple Step Can Address Your #1 Retirement Fear." Any ideas of what the #1 retirement fear is for people? Janice, what do you think? Okay, Paul.
Not having enough money to till you die.
Yeah. Any other guesses? Oh, Janice, you're on mute, sorry. Yeah, you're still on mute.
Sorry
go.
about that. I had to jump on my iPad and it's giving me trouble too. What was the question?
What is the number one fear that people have when they go to when they get to the point of retirement? What do you think that is?
Not having enough money to be able to retire in the fashion that they may want, or be able to do things that they have put off until retirement because of money or health or things like that, would be my guess.
Yeah. All right. And so let me go to the next slide. And so in this magazine, it talked about that only 20% of the people were worried about dying. And I thought that was kind of interesting, because death is something that I thought a lot of people were really worried about. I mean, they were worried about dying and not being able to take care of their family anymore, and all of that, and not being there for them. And it was interesting to me that only 20% of the people said that dying was one of their concerns. And that is kind of part of why I've talked about life insurance in this, is because not enough people are worried about that. They're not worried about what's going to happen if they pass away. They don't think about the consequences of what can happen. And for most people that pass away, that still owe money on their home, most of the families, if they're not protected with life insurance, they end up losing the home. The bank's not going to say, oh, well, I understand that your husband passed away, we'll just let you live here for free. They're not going to do that. And so the family is either going to have to sell the home, and most of the time they are too busy to fix it up. They don't have time to clean it out. Everybody's got their busy lives, and they sell the home at a discount because of the condition, and they end up either living with family or moving into a place that they don't own anymore because they don't have the income to purchase a home. And so they get in a spot where their life completely changes. It's turned upside down. And only 20% of the people are worried about that. And that's not enough people for me. I want people to be worried about that. I mean, think about that. I mean, that is life-changing for your family if something happens. And so in this article, it said that 58% of the people were more worried about running out of money. And I look at those two numbers, 20% and 58%. And I think that if that 58% of people that were worried about running out of money, if they realized that death can make you run out of money a lot faster than not having enough saved up, they would change their mind about those two answers. People just don't understand what it means if somebody passes away. And a lot of times they look at it as only the breadwinner. If the breadwinner passes away, then it's a big deal. But they don't think about the other spouse if they're not working. They don't think that that's a big deal. They're like, oh, they're just watching the kids. Well, what happens if you're the one working and your spouse passes away, and now you have to try and work and take care of the kids and keep the house up and do all of those different things? It's overwhelming, and most people can't handle that. They're too upset about the passing of their loved one. They can't handle all those other stresses that are put on their shoulders. And if they can't take care of the kids themselves, what's the cost of that? How much is that going to affect your income? And that's something that people just don't have any idea about. And so I want to educate people on that there's more that you need to think about than just what everybody talks about. There are other things that are in play. I mean, it's when you're talking about preparing for retirement and preparing for the death of a loved one, there's so many things that are involved. And if you don't know what those things are, then you're not going to be prepared for it. And so as realtors, I want to pose this question. What are your clients worried about? And let's see. Cindy, what do you think your clients are worried about?
Hey, I'm a fairly new agent, listening in while I'm driving. I'm not actually driving, but someone else is driving, but that's why I'm not on video. But, you know, I think everything kind of boils down to money, and they're worried about money, having enough money. I do have a client that wants to do an investment into some real estate as a rental. You know, are they going to be able to get enough income from that rental to cover the cost of the mortgage? So I think it's just, you know, the economy. As far as retirement goes, I would just say having enough money when they retire, like the other gal had mentioned, I think it was Janice, you know, being in a position to know if what they've saved is going to last them as long as they need, as long as they live. So I think that's when you say, what are your clients worried about? And like I said, I'm fairly new, so I don't have a lot of clients, but I would say that would be probably the number one thing, being able to afford housing,
Yeah.
how expensive it is right now. So I don't know if that was what you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, does anybody else have something that you've had a situation with a client that they are worried about something where they've actually opened up and talked to you and expressed concerns about the future? Robin, what are you concerned about for the future? I mean, let's take out the money part. Let's take out the death part. What are some of your concerns for the future?
Well, if you take out money and death, I would probably say just having good health, to have good quality of life as you live out your life.
Yeah. So Sarah, what other things are people worried about?
I was just gonna say, I did take some clients through a house last night, and they are really young, just kind of wanting to get into the housing market so they can start investing. And their budget is low. And so this house I took them through, it was far away from their work in a small town, and it was not nice at all. And so I kind of talked to them a little bit, and they definitely are concerned about, you know, how they're ever going to break into the housing market, how they're going to be able to purchase something to start gaining wealth that way.
Yeah, and that's a valid concern, especially for first-time home buyers. How do we come up with the down payment to be able to get into a house, or do we move out in the middle of nowhere so we can get help with the down payment so we can get in without that? But then you're competing against people that have the money, that have owned a home before, that have a huge amount of cash they can put down. How do they compete with that? There are so many different concerns that people have, and as a realtor, when I was out knocking doors, I was talking to people about their debt to income ratios. I was talking about things that they would need to do to be able to get into a home, and I found that probably 80% of the people that I talked to, they weren't ready to buy a home, not because they didn't make enough, but because they didn't budget their money. They didn't think about things like credit card debt that could go against their debt to income ratio, that could make it difficult for them to buy a home. Balances on those cards would drop their credit scores. All of these different things that would put people in a position where they couldn't afford a home. As far as the bank saw it, they couldn't afford a home because they had too much debt. And it was kind of interesting because I had one couple in particular that I talked to that, I mean, they weren't the norm. They were heavy on credit card debt. And each one of them, the husband and wife, both had at least 10 separate credit cards themselves, not with their spouse, just separate with their name only. And then they had another 5 that were combined. They were both on it. And I was like, I don't even know how you can get that much credit card debt. and most of their credit cards were maxed out. They made enough money. If they would have started years before, I mean, they'd been married for like 16 years and they had always been renting. And it was because they didn't have the knowledge of how to get out of that hole that they dug themselves in. And I mean, they were just paying the minimums on their credit cards, and it trapped them. They were really enslaved to their credit card debt. And people are worried about that. They're worried about, I mean, I'm worried for my kids. It's like, how are they ever going to get into their first home? I mean, if they're not in one yet, I mean, with the market we're in, look at all the challenges they've got to be able to move forward. How hard is it going to be for them to come up with enough money for a down payment to compete with those people that have already had homes and have a huge down payment? And so there's a lot more to things that people are worried about than just the money side of things. I mean, they're so worried about having a place to live. They're worried about, how do I take care of my family? How do I juggle all the different things that I've got? And I want to bring in that part of thinking what can happen if something happens in your life. All right, so here's the second word that I want you guys to write down, spelled the way it is with caps. And I picked this one. I mean, this word is kind of cool to me because, I mean, I looked at, my favorite number is 7. And that's what this says in a different way, a different spelling. But I looked at Stephen, spelled S-T-E-P-H-E-N, and I thought, okay, I could use the PH for a B. So that's why I chose this word. But kind of in closing, I want to talk about life. when we look at this word, there's a deeper meaning than just the word itself. There's something that's in this word, that's right in the middle of this word, that is a huge part of life. I mean, it's actually the biggest part of life, is the middle two letters, if. What if something happens? What if something good happens? What if something bad happens? Are we prepared for those things? Are we prepared for those what ifs in life? And are we helping our clients understand some of those what ifs? Are we educating them on what can happen if there's an injury, if there's a death in the family, if they get in an accident and can't work? All of these different things are the what ifs that can turn life upside down for a family. And we need to be better prepared to educate our clients about those what ifs so that they can be prepared. And as we do that and we help them understand these what ifs, our value to them increases. And the possibility of us doing more business with them in the future increases. And when I started, I was talking about, are you tired of struggling to get new clients and struggling to find those people that you can help, especially right now where there's not a lot of people that have got their homes for sale. Are we finding those people that we can help? And do we want to continue to have to find new people to be able to have our business grow and have our families taken care of? Or do we want to treat our clients the right way, educate them about those what ifs in life, educate them about the things that can happen that they've never even thought of, and get them prepared for those things? And one of the things that we talked about was the debt and helping those first-time home buyers. And some of them are not first-time home buyers that have a lot of debt. There's some of them that have owned homes before that get stuck in that rut of living the day-to-day and wanting the things that they want now instead of putting it off until later when they can really afford it. And are we educating them about the importance of staying on top of those things and keeping those things where they need to be, keeping your credit card balances low? I know I failed one of my clients. He had enough money. His credit was good. He was in a good spot, but I didn't educate him about the importance of keeping his credit card balances low. And he had a card, an American Express card, that American Express offered Sky Miles, extra Sky Miles, if you used your American Express card. And so 3 days before he was supposed to close, he maxed out his American Express card. And the mortgage company pulled the credit just to verify at the end. And it made his ratios wrong, and it was a big problem. I mean, if I wouldn't have had a mortgage guy that worked hard on it, it would have blown the deal up, and he would have lost $15,000 in earnest money just by racking up one credit card. And we need to be better at educating our clients about the importance of their credit, the importance of not going over on the limits, keeping their balances low, because it can blow up a deal that you've got going. And if it wouldn't have turned out that way, I would have been, I would have felt that it was kind of on me because I didn't tell him about that. And I know he would have brought that up. I mean, if you had a client that lost $15,000 because you didn't educate them about something like that, they're not going to be happy with you. There's no way they're going to use you in the future. And so we need to be better prepared and better educated so that we can educate our clients about the things that they need to do. And as we do that, we are giving more value to our clients, and we're setting them up for success instead of possibly leading them down a path of failure. And so the one thing that I want you guys to learn from this class more than anything else is that your clients are going to love you if you educate them, if you give them the information that they need so they can protect themselves and their families, and they can prepare for the future and be prepared for those what ifs in life. And so got a minute or two for just questions and answers. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I just wanted to mention on that Google form that's in the chat, I think we have 4 or 5 keywords on there. If Ron didn't say that there's that many, which I'm not going to tell you how many there are, but only do the ones that he said, and don't fill out the other ones if you're not supposed to. Anyway, that's kind of confusing, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, so just put down. Okay.
Yeah, question regarding that. It does require you to put something. Should we just put NA for the ones that were not mentioned?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And so I hope you guys got some value out of this. I hope you've learned a few things. I hope that it's helped you prepare to better educate your clients and help them understand those things in life that can hit them out of the blue and the effects that can have on them. I know that as we do that and help them understand those things, and we talk to them about the importance of investing in real estate and the value that's there, it's something that will empower them to improve their lives. And I wish all of you guys the best of luck in everything you're doing, and I hope you're able to convert some of those clients that you have, if you do have clients or past clients. I hope you're able to educate them a little bit and help them see the value of investing in real estate, because the value is definitely there. And I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about what that value is and how you can give more value to your clients by talking about investing in real estate. So with that, I'll end the class, and thanks for joining.
Thank you. Great class.
Thanks.
I reposted the Google form again for those of you that couldn't get onto it earlier, and we will give you a few hours to get on there, and then we'll try and get those banked.
Yeah, thanks for your help with it.
Of course, I'm sorry we didn't get anyone in the office. It's tricky to right now, but hopefully next time we will get some people there.
Yeah, and I hope it gave value to people, because I've seen so many people go through things and not have things in place, and it's something that I'm passionate about, is helping people understand that there are those what ifs in life, that there are going to be things that happen that people aren't ready for.
Right. And I liked your personal touch on there. That was great too. So to prove that, hey, listen, no matter how prepared you are, things happen and you need to know what to do. So that was good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And then can you just, once you get that Google Doc, well, I don't know if I'm tied in on it or.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Those that I'll wait for a few hours and see. Or if you want me to wait for the rest of the day and send it to you tomorrow, what do you want me to do? How long do you want me to give them?
I think if they're going to do it, they're probably going to do it today.
I agree.
and I'm kind of torn on it, because I don't know what to do with some of them, because they didn't have the video on. And
right. And I actually mentioned to them a few times, and actually there was one lady, it was so crazy. She says, let me read what she says. It was Mallory, the one that you asked, and she's like, I'm actually an assistant or something. She says, hi, I'm Dawn Stevens, assistant, listening in for her, but I'm on the clock at another job and will be answering the office phone and helping people who come in occasionally. And I feel that would be distracting, and I have my video off. Are you okay with that? And then I had to clarify, like, wait. So your name's Mallory, but you're wanting to get credit for Dawn? How is that? I don't know. Anyways, so that's up to you. I don't know. Because Dawn obviously wasn't even there. I didn't see her once.
Yeah, so, if it's Dawn that was trying to get credit, she's not going to get credit for it, because she wasn't there.
Right. Isn't that what that message sounded like? Like she was listening in for Dawn. I'm like, I don't know.
and I don't know if maybe she was just listening in, not for credit, but just to get information. And I can see some value in that. But as far as credit for Dawn, she's not going to get any CE credit, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other people, there were 2 or 3 other ones that, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total that didn't have the video on the whole time. So I will send you all that specified information, and then if they ever give you a hard time, you can say, hey, listen, you don't have your video on. We explained a few times, but that's up to you, obviously. But.
Yeah. Well, and I have to do it like that because, I can lose my license.
Exactly.
If I don't follow the rules. So.
Right. And not everybody was on the whole time, and I'll let you know about that too. So I'll just wait probably until around 1:30ish, and then I'll see who's got on. And so by this afternoon, you should have an email from me.
Okay, and it's fine if it's later than that. I mean, later in the day is
Okay,
fine. I mean, if
Okay.
people respond before then, send it, but if not, I mean, I'm even fine with it
perfect.
tomorrow.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, you have a great day.
All right, you too. See you later.
All right,
Bye.
bye.